Hey guys, welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
And I'm David Woldigan.
and it's time for us to talk about the 2023 to 2024 Blues season. Well, we think is going to happen. Before we get into that, guys, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on X. All right, David, it's an interesting time for the St. Louis Blues. Kind of almost at a crossroads in a season that could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, they're coming off a less than stellar season, to say the least, if you will. Yeah. And quite honestly, Doug Armstrong had a couple of different directions he could have gone with the season. I think he chose to really hold pat and just see what he has with what he has. And some of that has to do with the contracts to Jordan Kyrou.
And Robert Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, Robert Thomas.
They're matching deals.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to completely tear down this team and rebuild it. So it was kind of an interesting decision, and hopefully it pays off. But because of that, it raises a lot of questions, especially on the defensive side of things.
Right. So in September, Doug Armstrong was quoted as describing the team as being on the 50-yard line, and he was hoping they could go forward into the offensive zone, as in, push to contend, instead of going to the defensive zone, meaning a full-on rebuild. Given where the Blues are, their personnel, what they did this past offseason, I got questions as to whether or not that's the right move, but I get it. From a managerial standpoint, you don't want to invest that much money in Jordan Kyrou, in Robert Thomas, and then go on a 2, 3, 4-year rebuild that is the core of their contract, right? So I get it in that aspect, but they better be right. They better at least have a step forward this season, or it's just delaying the inevitable.
Well, I think a lot of it might come from the play of Kyrou, not on the offensive side of things, but on the defensive side of things. He had 37 goals last year, but when you look at plus minus, he was minus 38, which is pretty impressive in its own way, honestly.
I don't know how you do that. That's heinous. Yeah, that's it was among the worst, maybe the worst in the NHL. I don't remember offhand. Either way, it was disgraceful. What it was. And yeah, I think everybody in the Blues organization was willing to have that go down from 37 to 27 goals if it means that there's more defense. And yes, we know plus minus, there's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of a crapshoot, but not when it's that extreme. If it's that extreme, the upshot is that you might score, but you're terrible at defense.
Right. The other addition that Doug Armstrong, or I guess the only addition really that he added to the team, is Kevin Hayes. Yeah. Came from Philadelphia, gave away a 6th-round pick for him, and ironically, he was an all-star last year.
Yeah, getting an all-star center for a 6th-round pick, that's I'm not going to argue with that. We'll see what happens. Certainly a chance to be a quality piece. But again, I go back to defense. I think that's where this whole thing is with the Blues. You talk about Binnington's stats. They were terrible. Well, yeah, he had no defense in front of him. The penalty kill, 30th in the NHL last year, 72.4%. That's terrible. They had terrible defenders on the PK. I think that's the core of the problem with the Blues. 298 goals. That's the most they've given up in basically 40 years. They've got to fix that.
Yeah, that went back to the 83-84 season.
Right. Now, there were a couple other changes with the assistant coaches. Mike Van Ryn, Craig McTavish, gone, not back this year. In their place, Michael Babcock, not to be mistaken with the head coach, Mike Babcock, who's been successful for a number of years. And then Mike Weber, who is was of the AHL affiliate for the Buffalo Sabres. He was brought in specifically to work with defensemen. What comes of that? We'll see. But at least it's something, geared towards improving the defense specifically. So I guess I'm going to cling to that and hope that maybe Hayes, even though he's a forward, he's still got to play defense a little bit, right? Maybe he can help. Otherwise, what are we looking at for the defense? Torrey Krug's healthy. I mean, what else is there?
Yeah, one of the younger guys on the other side of things is Alexei Toropchenko. He's day-to-day right now coming into the season. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. He was a fourth liner last year, but if he takes a step forward, I could see himself working his way up the back end there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let him get to 100% before you bring him back, especially when he's already kind of on the mend before the season even begins. Don't rush him because I do think his ceiling is high. So yeah, get him healthy instead of just trying to have him play through a lingering injury for half the season. That's just a waste.
I also think one other thing the Blues could do much better than they did last year is their power play. In all honesty, they were 22nd. Yeah. They were 22nd in the league last year. The year before that, they were in the top 10 or something like that.
Oh, the power! I think 2 years ago, weren't they second?
Yeah, like they were phenomenal.
They were very good. Whatever they were. That second number's off the top of my head, so I could be wrong on that. Point is, they were 2 years ago. They were very good.
Dropping all the way down to 22, I don't know if that's because of the defensive issues or what, but if they can correct that, that will go a long way to helping them win some games too.
I mean, I'll grant you some of that is going to be trading Tarasenko, trading Ryan O'Reilly, Sundqvist, all that. Yes, I understand. That's going to be part of it, but it's not like it was an elite power play while they were still with the club.
Yeah.
That brings me to one other addition that, I forgot about. Oscar Sundqvist, he's back. Traded away, at the trading deadline. But he's back with the club. I think he is one of those quiet superstar types. So I think
and then you had Sammy Blake come back with his real solid play as well.
Yeah. And then with the addition of Vrana at the deadline, that's what's frustrating is if you can figure out defensive issues, there are pieces to be sure. So you understand, even besides the salary issues, why the Blues don't want to rebuild. It's just the defensive issues are so pronounced. You got to do something.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I think this season will be told to us real quick as it gets going underway. Thursday? Who are they starting against? I think Dallas.
Dallas, yeah, at Dallas.
Yeah, not that one game will tell you anything, but like the first week or two will give us an idea of how our defense is going to play throughout the year. If the Blues can start out strong, they could potentially have a really good year, but that's going to be that remains to be seen, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it kicks off Thursday, I think by Halloween, I think you'll have an idea of what kind of squad the Blues are going to have, at least to some extent. But hey, looking at this, David, what do you think is going to happen for this team? Give me a season prediction, standings.
Don't really know how to put it in standing wise, but at point wise, I think this team is going to get around 90 points this year. And I think that personally, I think that's enough to get them like a wild card spot or right on the fringe of a wild card spot. And that's just because I don't know what to think of our defense right now. If the defense steps up, if Kyrie and some of those guys start playing better defense as well, this team could be deadly. But until then, I think they're a fringe playoff team, if that.
Yeah, see, I think I'm maybe a half step below you. I think the Blues are going to have upper 80s, maybe that 90-point mark, 85 to 90. I think they're going to be duking it out with the Blackhawks for 5th place in the Central. They're not better than Colorado. They're not better than Dallas. They're not better than Winnipeg. And I don't think they're better than Nashville. I think it's all about trying to duke it out with the Blackhawks. And then, I guess the assumption is that, Arizona is going to hang out in their college ice rink in 7th last place.
Still laugh at that.
I mean, what do you do?
I want to see them move to Kansas City personally, but
that'd be interesting.
Right,
Central that way.
Well, and they got the arena for it, so
yeah. Oh, hey, that's what I got. I think defense is a little bit better because it's hard to be worse, but I think they still got to get a defender, at least one.
That or develop one to the draft, and that takes time. You won't see that happen for a year. Yeah, you won't see that happen for a year or two unless you get a first round, like top end pick.
Exactly. Yeah, I think this team is at least one, borderline all-star caliber defenseman away, at least.
One Petrangelo away.
Yeah.
Oh, that still frustrates me, but whatever. Until then, though, hockey's back, everybody.
Hey.
It's hard to believe, but I'm super excited about watching some Blues hockey again. We'll keep you updated on everything Blues hockey, and hopefully they go on a little bit of a winning streak to start the season, because it's always better to be ahead than chasing.
Yeah.
Until then, thanks for watching Under the Earth Sports.